Everybody, happy Tuesday. It is the first of the month, August 1st, and we have JOLTS job openings data coming out at 10 a.m. today, where we're expected to see 9.6 million job openings versus 9.8 million as of last month in May. So we'll see if this comes in higher or lower. It is lower than it was last month, so if we do see less job openings, the markets might actually take that as pretty good. Might let the Fed ease off of their rate hike campaign that they've been on. Let's check on the FOMC countdown to see if they're still estimating any rate hikes by the end of the year or not. By December, there is only a 28% chance of going to the next at 550 to 575 from 525 to 550 right now. So only about a 30% chance. The markets still aren't quite pricing in that extra 25 basis points right now, but this will be one of those data pieces that could end up shifting that. My thoughts for pins, calls, or puts. Let's see, PINS. Probably similar to a drop like we saw on Snapchat would be my guess. You know, that 15-20%. We're trading at the same level that we were before the last earnings report. So that's kind of what I would be thinking. Puts on pins before earnings, and that's scheduled for, let's see, 8 to 1. So that's today after hours. Probably wouldn't want to take that trade myself, but that would be my guess as to what's going to happen for pins. Looks like all the big tech names in the red this morning. QQQ currently down by 0.4%, pretty decent drop. And the two names I'm watching today that I see as an opportunity are going to be Tesla and Apple. Tesla's right in the middle of the range from the other day on Friday. And Apple, let's see, at 196 right now. Still going up before their earnings. I think we could actually make an earnings play there. Either an earnings play or a day trade. Either or. So we go to the options chain, see if there's anything to point us as to where it might go. Look at the open interest volume. Currently trading at 196.25. The 195 put has 16,000 in volume. The 195 call has about, open interest, not volume. 195 call has more than double that, 40,000 in calls. So people are pretty bullish for earnings on Apple this quarter. The 190 put is semi-popular at 29,000, but still not quite as popular as the 195 and the 200 call. And that 200 call is the most popular for right now with 43,000 open interest. All right. Well, the 190 puts, they're going for 112. I feel like that is a bit expensive given that it is earnings week. Can kind of expect that. These were trading just about $1.10 all day yesterday. We're trading at the upper end of our range, up to 196.50, so it's about 50 cents up, or about $1.50, $2 down. So we'll take that one. The 190 put expiring for this week. I'll grab a few of them. They're going for 118, already getting jacked up a little bit. All right. I think I opened at 116. So that could be a day trade or it could be a swing depending on how quickly we move. And we are in August, 8/4 expiration. Let's check the delta on that. Delta value is -23, so these should only lose about 12 cents of value or so if we do end up going to that 196.50 resistance. My thoughts on Palantir, PLTR. Trading really high, 1950. I remember this at 17 just a couple weeks ago. They're going up before their earnings report. Implied volatility is sky high, so I don't know if I would want to buy puts on it. If you do, I would probably manage it with spreads just to lower the price on them. Expected move is $1.30 this week. When is their earnings? Is it going to be... It's on 8/7, so that's still a week out, and they're already super high in implied volatility. I would probably want to do something to capitalize on implied volatility still going up, and with this momentum, I'll probably do a double diagonal with some skew to the upside. Maybe seeing like 21.50 as the top of your double diagonal, and then the bottom of it being like 18.50 or so with this gap right here. RTX Corporation. I don't think I've heard of this company. They ended up dropping pretty heavy after their earnings from 96 to 87. So all the implied volatility, actually the implied volatility is a bit higher than it was pre-earnings. Interesting enough. Probably would continue to decline though. Volume is pretty elevated still. So it's still got some action to it. Post earnings, let's see, it's trading at 87, resistance at about 88 to 89. Could take on a call credit spread somewhere around there. Let's check out the hourly chart on it. And there's really not much resistance after that just because of how quickly they ended up drawing down. So yeah, if they get into the 88, 89 range, I would probably take a call credit spread on it. Maybe assuming it won't go above 91, 92. Somewhere pretty close by. All right, here goes Apple at the top. Had a decent down wick, just tagged the top of the range. Let's check on Tesla. That was the other one we were wanting to watch. And that one actually did end up dropping outside of the range just now. Again, this is from the other day. Spent a majority of its time trading in that range right there. And my guess, this is probably just going to flip back and forth between the low 260s and the high 250s. Apple is down the least at the moment, almost break even right now. And their earnings is going to be, let's see, $8.3. So we are a little bit early on that trade. Thoughts for AMC? Wow, this one's up 3% today. Another earnings report scheduled 8/8, so a week away on Tuesday next week. It's so flat compared to where it's been. Had that huge pump right there. Probably some resistance at almost right where we're trading. Let's see. We ended up bottoming at about $5, and then I would set a resistance probably at $5.25 or so. Could be a resistance level if you want to take a short on it. But it seems like everything's kind of running up before their earnings report. Basically every company, it seems like. And then if you want to take a post earning or take a trade for earnings, I would say AMC probably would see some downside, but the sentiment right now might be about around the Barbie movie selling a ton right now. But hard to say. Let's see, Apple's just at break even and a little bit above in the green. Right above yesterday's close at 196.50. And trading right on the edge. Right there in the edge. And then got a resistance at 196.70. Where is that coming from? Looks like the top right here. Similar top back here, I'm thinking. Calls for Ford, F. It's definitely moving to the upside right now. Ford already had their earnings, dropped a decent bit, not that bad. 14 to 13. Not a major move, but seemingly, I would say, catching some support at 12 to 13. I'd say a little bit too high to buy calls today. I would probably want to enter closer. Ford is just such a cheap stock, it's hard to find a good entry, but like 13.15 or so, or as low as 13.10. Trying to understand psychology. So what you're looking for is just kind of a base to look at, to go by. So for example, for Ford, a ton of people were exiting to the downside right here. So this would be probably a support at about $13. That nice round psychological number too helps out. But then you can take the body of these candles at 13.10, right? And then there's a lot of trading that went around this level at 13.10. A lot of bottoms around here. Sometimes you saw like 13.08, but just marginally lower. And then like the top of the range would be like 13.25 from these couple of tops, and then it didn't really go above that for the rest of the day. So that's the range that I would want to buy Ford stock in if I'm going long. Palantir. What's the thoughts of August 18th, 17? Buying puts. Let's see. Palantir. Like I said, this one's been rallying like crazy going into the earnings report, so they're putting a lot of pressure on the stock to do really, really well. Kind of like Snapchat, how they had a huge run up for their earnings, and a lot of companies have been doing this. It's not unique. But Palantir, if I'm going based on what Snapchat did, I don't know if it will perform like it, but it's been a lot of hype around the stock, similar to how Snapchat got a lot of hype and went to 52-week highs. But on Palantir, this one, I would say 16 or so could be in the cards. If you want to be more conservative, I would say a gap fill down to 17 or 18. I'd say that would be an easy drop. That'd be 10%, which is nothing for Palantir on an earnings report. And then if you want to be a more kind of aggressive, I'd say probably down to 16 would be my guess based on the supports on the daily chart. All right, looks like Apple just crossed above to the upside. Let's see, AMD 115. Yeah, there's resistance right around here that you could take a short. Just set your stop loss at like the 115 level. It's about 40 cents higher. Yeah, 115 is a pretty strong resistance previously. So I could probably take a trade like that. And they're having their earnings today. I would actually want to take profits or cut losses before. I don't know if I would want to hold into their earnings because this one's kind of in a sweet spot. It's not, at 52-week highs like a lot of other stocks before their earnings, but it's also, pretty up there compared to the lows down at 54. And even trading well above the 100 level that it had a hard time breaking before. So this one I feel like could go either way. Implied volatility for it is about average for earnings, not too high. So you could take like a straddle or a strangle around it. SPY. Let's see, trading at 456 right now. It's got that 460 resistance, too far away from that today. Checking on the options chain, August 1st expiration. Lots of volume going into the 456 puts, but there's actually more 457 calls right now. So they're trying to put the pressure to the upside on it. And that's the hottest table so far, 457 calls. So maybe there is some more upside if we do get to 457 on SPY here. And then there's some resistance just above that at 457 and change, 457.20. So you need to break the 457 level to get those calls in the money for the market makers to start buying them. And then for the technicals, you want to see it break above 457.20 to go bullish today. LMT, Lockheed Martin, should be doing well if they're having earnings. Based on all the defense spending. Oh, they already had it. It actually came down in their earnings, surprisingly. That one I would actually say could be a decent long-term opportunity. All right, Apple back at the top of the range, ended up coming back into it. Now making another leg up, it seems. Tesla's still coming down here. Tesla and Nvidia trading the same almost, it looks like, per usual. You're seeing every other big tech name coming down first thing on the open, besides Apple right now. Kind of strange. I really wish we had got that Tesla put in that range there. That one would have definitely gone well. This Apple put not doing too hot. Still trading at the top. Trying to head higher at 196.60. Hopefully it doesn't get trapped in there between 196.40 and 196.70, but it's kind of looking like what's going to happen. Bearish day. It's what it's looking like so far for all the big tech names. All of them are dropping besides Apple right now. But for SPY, I think we're a little bit too close to 457 to call us bearish. So could be just a mixed day. There's a couple names that are pretty certainly bearish, Tesla being one of them. Again, I expect this one to keep flipping back into the high 250s, low 260s. So there's still a couple, $2, $3, $4 downside. Nvidia dropping really heavy, but this actually is kind of a bullish area possibly. And based on this bounce right here. Let's see, the lowest you'd want this to go is like 459.30, trading at 461 right now. Calls are kind of expensive on it, but let's see. It's not a lot of calls that are getting bought this morning. A lot of puts, actually. 470 calls going for 460. Delta value of 39. 35. If we go with the 475, you drop the delta down to 27 for 320. That's actually a pretty decent return, I would say. Again, I would want to cut losses under 490 or 459.30 at or below. And ideally take profits. Let's see, that's about $2 down. You want at least $2 to the upside. So it's right in the middle right now. But hopefully you get outside of that range to the upside if it's any bullish today. Delta's 27, so you risk about 60. All right. We'll add that one to the watch list here too. 475 call. Everything's kind of slowing down right now, it seems like. Again, Apple just in that 196.40 to 196.70 range for the moment. Not getting a break to either side. Got some more downside on Microsoft, but trading right at the morning low, so got a break under 334 first. Keep on headed down. Netflix, kind of the same formation, but a bit higher relative. Netflix, yeah. Amazon, kind of looking like Tesla. And Nvidia almost looking the same here. What trades have I locked in? Nvidia calls, Apple puts. So I got it both ways right now, depending on how the market shapes up after this flatness. We got the report coming out, the JOLTS job openings. That should shake us up here a little bit. Don't have the numbers yet. Still no numbers. $9.582. So basically at expectations versus 9.61. So we're seeing a decent drop in job openings, which should be good for the rate hike campaign and having the Fed possibly stopping the rate hike campaign. So I would think that markets could react bullish to that. Haven't seen much of a reaction yet. SPY was a bit more bullish than the big tech names. Yeah, right at 457. Rejected at about 457.20. So I think if we break above 457.20, again, that was a resistance, I think, from yesterday. That could turn us bullish. I might add another put since we're coming down on Apple. Back into the range. They're going for 106. Put in my order for 105, but I was too late. Get a hype man. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Here we go with NVIDIA popping off. That's good. Seeing some volume coming into this too. That's what we like to see. Apple going the other way right now for the moment. And again, we want to try to take profit above 463.30 for NVIDIA. And I think we might have to cut losses for Apple. Because it looks like we came down into the range and popped right back off. So if we get back above 196.70, probably would want to cut losses there if we want to make it a day trade, or I could just cut half of the position if we want to hold it into and have an earnings play on Thursday. What's the ticker for the call? It's NVIDIA. All right, Apple dropping a decent bit here. 196.20 was the previous low, so we'll see if we can crack under. Losing its strength from this morning, it was trading at 70 on the RSI, so what's doing pretty hot, but losing that momentum to the upside, and RSI is pulling back pretty sharp down to 50 right now. Usually 50 will act as a support, but looks like not today. Not right now, at least. NVIDIA's kind of finding its place at 462 right now. Having a little bit of difficulty headed higher. I'm going to set an alert for when it goes above 463.30. In Apple, let's see where we want to maybe take profits on this one. Into the 195s from yesterday would be a decent support. $195.75 or below. Delta on these is negative 21. It's about 50 cents lower, so that would give us another $10. Basically putting us back to where we were yesterday. A little bit of time decay on it. But they should go for about 115 or so. Alright, my Nvidia contracts up a whopping 5%. Not too much gain out of it. But we're getting closer to that 463.30 mark that I'm looking for. Just about 30 cents off of it right now. Contracts are going for 350 at the bid, 355. Might not be able to ask too much more out of it. Especially with Apple dropping here. Could weigh negatively. Yeah, Apple just made its way back into the high 195s, 195.94 at the lowest. Check in on Meta. Had that support down below. Under 316, bounce at 314.60. If it re-enters that under 316, you could probably take a call. But the closer that you can get this to like 313.50, the better. And then you would want to set your stop loss at 313.50. All right, here we go with Apple. Be really nice if I could short this all the way down to 195. $1 lower for a 15 delta. Actually, 22 delta. Would make us a nice $80. All right, just under that support from yesterday. I'd imagine we catch some sort of bounce here based on how many times we tagged that level yesterday. All right. Nvidia coming back into the 461 level, back at the lows from earlier. All right, well, it's kind of looking like we're shifting to the downside. But that could be your support at 460.4 from before. We still have about $1.50 more to the downside before a stop loss gets hit, which would be about 40 cents more, 40 cents less for this contract. Down to 260. I'm going to take advantage of this little pop here. Cut my losses. Okay. Got filled to close it at 305. 35 loss. Pretty small. Do I think Apple will go higher after the earnings report? Let's see. It's already trading at 52-week high, so it's hard to say that it would have had higher. My assumption it'll be something like Microsoft and how they performed. It's not going to have, 10, 20% drop like something like Snapchat. But I would think that it would give up probably anywhere between 2 and 4%. Puts are going higher. 123, almost back down to the bottom of our range at 195, which is good. That's what we want to see. Still about 20 cents off of it, 30 cents higher. How do you use earnings reports to trade? So the way that I like to do it is take the trade before the earnings report and guess which direction it's going to go, which, I mean, it's a 50-50 shot. like flipping a coin. But, you want to spot opportunities like Apple that's trading at 52-week highs. And if they come in with, earnings that aren't living up to those 52-week high expectations, then you'd want to be taking puts. That's what I ended up doing for Snapchat. That one worked out really well for me. Dropped like 20%. But again, Snapchat's going to be a lot more volatile than something like Apple. But you kind of want to spot these opportunities. A lot of big tech names have been doing this. The only one that I've seen gone up after trading at 52-week highs has been Meta, but it's kind of trading flat after the fact, right? So there is a decent chance that Apple could maybe head to 200. And if you do think that it's going to go up, it'll probably trade flat after that around 200. So you could take like an iron condor or something, or iron butterfly, to take advantage of that time decay and especially the implied volatility being as high as it is. But basically what impacts a stock after the earnings is, what is their earnings per share? What did Wall Street expect? What is their revenue? What did Wall Street expect? And then their guidance. So what is the company projecting their future earnings to be? And if all three of those are good, usually the stock will head higher. If any of those three are, not as good as expected, then the markets will pull back, especially if it's a stock like Apple trading at 52-week highs. Because these stocks that are trading at 52-week highs have basically priced in a perfect scenario for the company. So far, I think I've made 2 earnings trades. Snapchat, I wanted to trade Google for the earnings. Didn't end up holding that one. And then there was another one, if I remember right. I don't remember which. Oh, Tesla. Ended up trading Tesla first thing in the earnings season, assuming that one would end up filling the gap to 264. So that one worked out. Snapchat worked out. And then Google, if I had held it, would have worked out. I had a call on that one, but was too worried about holding it into earnings. All right. Apple slowing down the move to the downside. Catching some support at 195.30. Contracts were all the way up to 128, it looks like. What do you use to source all the information? You can go to Earnings Whisperer. That'll give you what the earnings expectations are. So if I type in the ticker AAPL, they change the interface to dark mode, which looks terrible, but I digress. So earnings expectations is 124 this quarter. Revenue is expected to come in at 72.8. And what I'll usually do is I'll look at past earnings and see how it stacks up over the last couple of years. So if earnings expectations are higher than the average for the last couple of years, especially for big tech companies, it's probably going to come in lower. Revenue, same thing. Take the average over the last couple of years. If revenue is expected to be higher, then probably going to miss on revenue. But, it's not a guarantee. The companies, especially with these big tech companies, they can always kind of boost their earnings per share by giving away employee stock compensation, And things like share buybacks can really boost the earnings per share. It's just a cash write-off that they can use. But yeah, and I'll usually pull that data from, let's see, APL, earnings history. I'll usually pull that data out of marketbeat.com. And then it'll give you at least the last 8 quarters. So I take the average of the last 8 quarters, see what Wall Street expects. Is it higher or lower? What are the odds of them beating that estimate? And then same thing for revenue. And then guidance, that's kind of up in the air for the company to decide on. Did I play Uber on our earnings? No, I did not. That one dropped pretty heavy after they had a decent rise in the after hours and pre-market, but it's back to basically where it was a couple days ago. So not too much change out of it overall. But a steep drop. They had a positive earnings per share for once. That's good. 18 cents. They were expected to basically break even. But they're already at 52-week highs. So again, this is one of the ones that build up a lot of anticipation for a good earnings report. They had a good earnings report, but still ended up dropping. And that's pretty common, especially among not like the big tech companies, but the smaller tech companies, again, like Snapchat. Uber would be a good one. I'd imagine Lyft. That's probably already coming down. Not trading at 52-week highs, but looking at these smaller companies trading at 52-week highs ahead of earnings and taking advantage with put options. Probably a good idea. But you also don't want something like Uber where it went up after hours and then dropped today. Since now it's only down 5% versus the high at 53. It's down $6, so that's 11%. You would want that 10, 11, 12% move for something like Uber in order to make a profit on the earnings report. AMD's kind of in a sweet spot. I said this earlier. It's not trading at 52-week highs like a lot of other stocks are in the market. It's trading decently above that 100 level, that nice psychological number. So this one I feel like could go either way. I think that their earnings is probably going to keep slowing down over the coming quarters, given that the economy is kind of in a slump. And semis will usually kind of feel that pain a little bit more just because they're one of the main drivers of the economy. So I would think that their guidance might not be super rosy. So maybe a decent chance that they come down, but I would probably be more conservative with call credit spread rather than just going straight puts or put debit spreads out of the money. Yeah. Well, AMD, they're pretty tricky. AMD does a lot of write-offs for employee stock compensation, and their their share buybacks. Last quarter, they posted 60-cent non-GAAP earnings per share, which excludes those. But if you look at their actual earnings per share, the GAAP earnings per share, I think it was like 1 penny or negative. So AMD can really make their earnings per share look like whatever they want. And I feel like AMD, it's more about what they're guiding in the coming quarters than what their earnings per share is. yeah, I think that's probably all the trades I'll make today. The Apple and the Nvidia trade. The Nvidia trade just went back to break even, so that kind of blows. But Apple's still trying to head lower. Want to take profits under. Looks like 195. 20. We'll say 195.25. And that'll be it for me today. So I'll catch y'all at 9:30 tomorrow. See everybody. Have a good day.